Think about this for a second. Imagine trying to repair a superhighway that's buried deep underneath a bustling city. Every single wrong turn could be a catastrophe. Well, that is the daily reality for a vascular surgeon operating on the body's major blood vessels. Today, we're going to go inside and actually look at the roadmap they use to navigate this incredible, high-stakes terrain.
All right, so here's our game plan. First, we'll map out the abdominal labyrinth and see how a surgeon picks their entry point. Then, we'll get into the standard playbook before diving into some really high-stakes maneuvers for when things get complicated. And we'll wrap it all up by looking at what this all tells us about the true art of surgical exposure. So, first up, the abdominal labyrinth. We're mapping the body's busiest crossroads. And forget any idea of empty space in there. The abdomen is a metropolis, just jammed packed with vital organs and critical infrastructure. And that leads us right to the central challenge, doesn't it? How does a surgeon find their way to the body's biggest blood vessels when they're hidden so deep inside this incredibly crowded space? It's a question of geography, strategy, and just unbelievable skill. To really get this journey, first we gotta meet the key players. You've got the aorta. That's the body's main arterial superhighway. Branching off it, you have these critical trunks like the celiac axis and the superior mesenteric artery, which are basically the primary supply lines for our digestive organs. And running right alongside is the inferior vena cava, this massive vein that brings all that blood back home to the heart. So the surgeon's got a map, they know the anatomy, they should be all set, right? Well, that's where this number comes in, 18%. What on earth could that mean? It means that in up to 18% of people, a major artery, say the one that supplies the liver, it's just not where the textbook says it should be. It's what they call replaced, meaning it comes from a completely different vessel. So a surgeon's map is never guaranteed. They have to be ready for the unexpected every single time they go in.
And that kind of uncertainty has a huge impact on our next section, choosing your entry point. Because every single operation has to begin with a door. Knowing the anatomy is one thing, actually getting to it is something else entirely.
The very first decision is the incision, and believe me, it is a strategic trade-off. The standard midline incision, that's like the master key. It's incredibly versatile, it can get you almost anywhere you need to go. But that access comes with a cost, more pain after the operation, and a much higher risk of a hernia. The other option, an oblique flank incision, is less painful, with a lower hernia risk, but it's way less versatile.
And this is exactly why, even with those downsides, the midline approach is still the gold standard. In the really unpredictable world of vascular surgery, versatility isn't some luxury. It's an absolute necessity. The ability to pivot and get to any vessel at any time, that often outweighs the risks you know about.
Which brings us right to Section 3, the standard playbook, featuring the in-frame celiac approach. So, once that door is open, the surgeon relies on a set of proven techniques. This is their go-to play.
Okay, so the in-frame mesocolic approach is the most common route on our roadmap. It is the absolute go-to technique for getting to the aorta, specifically targeting that infrarenal segment. And that's just the part of the aortic superhighway right below the exits for the kidney arteries. And the path to get there is just so methodical. Step 1, you gently retract the small bowel, move it out of the way. Step 2, you mobilize the first part of the small intestine, called the duodenum. Step 3, you carefully incise the thin membrane behind the abdominal cavity, the retroperitoneum. And just like that, step 4, the aorta is exposed. It's a beautifully logical sequence. But what happens when the problem isn't on this standard route? Well, that brings us to Section 4, high-stakes maneuvers. This is for when the standard playbook just isn't enough. I mean, think about it. What if your target is way higher up on the aorta? That proximal segment is literally barricaded behind a wall of critical organs, the spleen, the pancreas, the stomach. The standard approach? It just won't work. You need a completely different play.
And this is where they bring out the big guns, the Maddox maneuver. This is not a small adjustment, it's a massive, powerful technique. It means carefully rotating the spleen, the pancreas, and the left colon, pretty much the entire left side of the upper abdomen, and moving all of it over to the right side of the body. It's a profound move, and it's only chosen when the target is otherwise unreachable and the situation is life-threatening.
The result is, it's just incredible. Before the maneuver, that proximal aorta is completely hidden from view. But afterwards, with that whole block of organs rotated medially, the aorta is fully exposed, lying right there in the base of the wound. It is a stunning feat of anatomical engineering. But a move this powerful comes with some profound risks. The spleen, in particular, is really vulnerable during this rotation. The chance of injuring it can be as high as 20%. So this is the surgeon's calculus. You accept a 1 in 5 chance of injuring a major organ because the alternative, not getting to the problem, is even worse. It's a true high-stakes, high-reward decision.
So let's bring it all together in our final section, Section 5, the art of exposure. It's about so much more than just an incision. So what have we really learned on this journey?
We've learned that surgical success isn't just about the technical skill of cutting and sewing. It's really about the art of exposure. It's a deep, almost intuitive strategic knowledge of how to navigate the unbelievably complex landscape of the human body just to get to the problem safely.
You know, the best surgeons don't just have one map, they have an entire atlas in their heads. They absolutely have to be familiar with a ton of different approaches, because every patient's anatomy and every problem is unique. They have to know which road to take every single time.
And that leaves us with one final thought, doesn't it? As technology like robotics and AI just keeps advancing, will the surgeon's roadmap eventually be drawn up by a machine? Or will navigating the unpredictable, living landscape of the human body always require the judgment, the artistry, and the touch of a human hand?